And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Kyle here, and it is Saturday, and you know what that means. It's time for the toy news of the week that interested me and hopefully interests you, and it is a banner week for toy news, a banner week for weekly purchases, a banner week in general, one of the busiest weeks I think I've had in probably 10 years, and we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a second, but it's been very busy. I've been on PTO this week, kind of, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I'll be off this upcoming Monday, depending when you're watching this one. I did go up to Minnesota. I had to do a work presentation. Luckily for me that night, who was playing in town? It was the boys in Iron Maiden. A pretty cool thing. We'll talk about that later. Probably an album of the week. Stay tuned for that. Went to Iron Maiden. Jeff George, good friend of the channel. More on that too this weekend. He was there. He came from the airport, met up. We went to the Mall of America on Wednesday. Hit the new Toys R Us once again. See what all the fuss was about. Came back to my house after that, ended up going to the Black Crowes at the last minute, went to the Black Crowes concert, went to the Pumpkin Patch this week, a little haunted house action. Saturday, as you're watching this, as it drops, better check out AEW Collision on TNT. Jeff and I will be there in the front row. We'll be rocking and rolling, strutting and strolling. We'll be there for that. We'll see what kind of shenanigans go down after that show, and then we're going to try to make it to the Kane County Toy Show Sunday morning, of course, over there in St. Charles, Illinois. Also had another toy show during the week that we went to as well. All of that, and of course, 4 videos a day between both YouTube channels. The hardest working man, really ever since James Brown died, I've really taken over the mantle. Haven't found the right cape yet, but I'm working on it. Trust me, I'm working on it. But we got a lot of toy news to get to. We got a lot of their stuff. Talk a little bit more shenanigans in weekly purchases tomorrow. That's kind of more of the catch-up video. This one is about the toy news. So let's dial into the toy news, and we got some updates. Power Town, the last 3 weeks on the channel, we've started off talking Power Town. Talk about the highest of highs, the lowest of lows, highest of highs, lowest of lows. It's a train trip up and down through the valley, the mountains of death, I guess is what it is with Power Town. But the free, and I say that free, everybody says it's free, it's free. Nothing is free in this life. I want to believe things are free. Perfect example. Hey, Kyle, sometimes you get a free action figure. Yes, sometimes I do get a free action figure, but it's not free. It's not like, hey, Kyle, just enjoy your figure, go off. No, it's you got to do a video of it. You have to post a video of it, all that kind of stuff. While it's fun, it's what I love to do, it's not free. Just like these Power Town figures. They have sat on your money for a heck of a long time. They've garnered interest off of you. Yes, they have. And what is the cost on these for them? They've probably paid off that interest. They had these extra figures, help them get out of a warehouse, help them save more money, help them as a tax write-off. There's a lot here. That being said, I've told you guys since day one, it's not really free, but it's a heck of a nice gesture. You don't see other companies doing this. So say what you want about it. It is what it is. So I, of course, did order the Bruiser Brody and the Diamond Kerry Von Erich. That's what I'd ordered for both of mine. Well, this week, Kerry Von Erich came in. I was like, all right. And then I did see an email, talked about it last week in Toy News. When I ordered Bruiser Brody, it said regular Bruiser Brody. Then when it ended up coming through the email saying it shipped, it said uncirculated. So I guess it's one of the damaged ones. So that's a little bit of a bait and switch. Still at the end of the day, a nice gesture, but it is the damaged style figure coming. But in a huge plot twist, which unfortunately this week I've decided, this goes for Power Town, this goes for anything else. I get a lot of threats. Can you believe that? I get a lot of threats on this channel. People got too much time on their hands, and I don't think they understand that a lot of this is tongue-in-cheek and a lot of joking around. I'm here to have fun. That's what it's about at the end of the day. But I get a threat or two. Yes, I do. Which has made me, unfortunately, have to take legal counsel from my new lawyer.
Hi, I'm attorney at law Zach Wild, and I'm here to fight for you.
Yes, you heard it right. Zach Wild, guitar phenom, one of the greatest guitarists of all time, is now also a lawyer, and I am one of his first clients. So you'll see more of Zach on the channel, representing us, protecting us from bullies, basically, at the end of the day. But more on Power Town here. I got my Diamond Select Kerry Von Erich. I got that Diamond. The Diamond Select, Diamond version, whatever it was called. I got the Kerry Von Erich. But then I get my second package. I'm like, all right, here comes Bruiser. I open that bad boy up. What is it? It's Stan the Lariat Hansen. Now, I like Stan Hansen, but I didn't order Stan Hansen, so I don't know what's going on there. I immediately looked. Did I mess up? Nope. I ordered Bruiser Brody, so I wasn't sure what all the fuss was about, what was going on here, and I was like, do I really want to reach out to Powertown and complain about a free figure? I said, you know what? I'm just going to let it go. It is what it is. I got a Stan Hansen. Good friend of the channel, David C. Anderson, was looking for one. Helps him out a little bit as well. So all is good. But then what happens the next day? Bruiser Brody comes in the mail. So Powertown sending me 3 free figures when I was only supposed to have 2. Are they trying to buy my love? My love can be bought. It can be bought. No, I don't know. I think they messed up somewhere along the way. Is what it is. Is what it is at this point. The craziness continues here. Powertown on the clock once again. We'll see what ends up happening there in a few weeks. Hopefully Jesse Ventura doesn't have to get back involved in the channel here. We can leave him off the Powertown conspiracy. He's got other things he's working on. I can't wait to share those in the future, so we'll see what happens there. But a little bit of a Powertown update this week. Wild, wild time, that's for sure. But I thank Jesse Ventura for really putting me in touch with Zach Wild as a lawyer, too. I got to give a little special shout out to old Jesse there. But now more toy news this week. Takeshita, Ringside Collectible exclusive, coming very soon. We saw some more glamour images of that one. A lot of people are going to be happy with the whole Chase Rare Edition. People were up in arms about that. Going to be a lot easier to get this one. And this one's a little bit more premium anyway. So if you're after a Takeshita Ringside Collectibles, use discount code Kyle. Save yourself 10%. Got to give a shout out right there. How about this week, the worst kept secret in the world? We've been talking about this for a month since it had the grayed out images on the site. Big Bad Toy Store, part of their 25th anniversary special this month of October here. They did put up on the 22nd, the Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal, big rubber guys, Big Bad Toy Store exclusives. Man, oh man, sign me up all day long and twice on Sunday. You know these are playing all the hits for me here. Got my order in immediately. Cannot wait to get these in hand. Can't wait to get the last version of the Road Warriors in hand either. Got a lot of good stuff coming. I know everybody's saying Mattel, Mattel, Mattel. Well, at the end of the day, you got to follow the money. That's where it is. Mattel, WWE more in general there is not paying enough money to LOD or whatever you want to call it, enterprises in this day and age. Once they feel they get the right mix, they'll be on there. And I have to think a lot of these Macho Man's, LODs, they're going to work the circuits of all these independent companies, get all the money they can out of that. Then, okay, hey, I'm going back to Mattel, get all the money they can for 5 years, whatever it may be, jump back over to something else. We got to remember it's the toy business at the end of the day, as one may say. But we do have that one. And then the Big Rubber Guys, Major Bendy's not done this week for Halloween. Went up for pre-order on Friday, yesterday, if you're watching this on Saturday. It is the Big Rubber Guys, Andre the Giant. However, getting a little deja vu, once again, like a young Iron Maiden. We got the face-painted Andre from his match with the Ultimate Warrior. Remember that promo? Iconic. Going back to the infancy of this very YouTube channel, I was calling for Mattel to make one of these with Andre the Giant. I said, it's just a second head. It's got to be easy to do. They never did it for whatever reason. I have to think they will one day. I'd have to think so. It's such an easy thing to do. But they never did it. Well, here's the Big Rubber Guys, and coming on the heels of an announcement from Latuni, which we talked about last week. Latuni, of course, making this. Latuni will forever be known as the first one to make it. However, will they be the first one to release it? Which will come out first, the Big Rubber Guys edition or the Latuni one? So the clock starts right now. It's a race to get that Andre to the shelf. Of course, the Big Rubber Guys version of Andre is in the blue singlet, which is more accurate to the promo, where the other one is in a black. Semantics to some, but take that for what you will. But it'll be very interesting on the hot Andre face paint race. Of course, everybody loves face paint, myself included, as we do know right there. A little bit of retro talk, of course, La Resistance, KWK. You got till Halloween, October 31st, to get your pre-order in for any of the variations of La Resistance. Very cool tag team, of course, we remember from the Ruthless Aggression era there. Use code Kyle. Save yourself 10% over there, of course, at the KWK store. So if you're after La Resistance, the time is ticking. Speak now or forever hold your peace. And we know about the Los Conquistadors. Those versions shipping here in the next couple of weeks as well. A lot of excitement around these. Another one of those teams from way back in the day. I remember seeing them at Survivor Series. And it was the first ever Survivor Series I saw when it was part of that big 10-man tag team match. That was a wild one for sure. Is it Edge and Christian under the mask? Who knows who it could be? But we got Los Conquistadors coming. Can't wait to see those in hand as well. Looking very, very nice, of course. I love that gold. It really does pop. And I love all the updates we've got from Sean over there. You know, I know every company has their detractors, but very right in your face, showing you all how the sausage is made is very, very cool. To follow it from start to finish, I think is a cool thing, and Sean does a really good job keeping everybody up to speed of what's going on with his brand of action figures. So Los Conquistadors shipping right around the corner. But we're not done with retro stuff here. Golden Era of Wrestling announced this week, the Hardy Boys. Hardy Boys going to be a lot like these LOD figures, the Macho Man. Working the circuit, working the circuit. We're going to see more of that, and the Hardy Boys coming. I like this retro, the golden era of wrestling, what they're kind of doing. They're doing all these tag teams, and I know people are probably like, where's the singles, where's the singles? But I've always appreciated a good tag team, and I like what they're doing right here. It is getting tough, even for me, to keep track of all these retro toy lines that are going on, let alone being able to afford all these. So I don't know where it ends. My days of being a completist in every single retro line had to go out the window, unfortunately. There's not enough time, there's not enough money in the world for me to keep up with all this one. As much as I would like to, I love all this kind of stuff. It's just hard to keep up with everything, but it is what it is. But one will last and one will fall, like a young Optimus Prime Megatron. Some of these companies aren't going to be able to make it. It's not sustainable for all these companies, especially doing some of the same characters over and over. We'll see what ends up happening in the future with some of these lines, but that one is coming around the corner, so be ready. Be ready. And we also saw Grapplers and Gimmicks. We talked about them for New York Comic Con last week. Another one, very hard to keep up with. So many different figures coming out. We got like 2 Sensational Sherrys, 10 British Bulldogs. You got a bunch of Jake the Snakes around the corner. So much going on out there. I give Mitch all the credit in the world. Constant learning, constant improvement. He should tattoo that on his forehead because a lot of improvements being made all the time over there. It's always really cool to see that kind of stuff. And he's really taken all the things to heart as we see what happened with Smoke Train from the beginning all the way now to the modern age with the new Sherrys and stuff. Just that arc of how he has improved the quality on his products should be called out, I will say. But it looks like he's going to do these mutation figures, and once again, it's getting hard to keep track of. I thought there was another company doing these mutation-style figures. Now, it's going to be like the British Bulldog, but with a bulldog head. It's going to be Jake the Snake with snake head kind of going on. You get the point there. I thought that was a totally different company. I don't know if Mitch bought the molds for those, or he invested in those, or they joined forces. Not exactly sure what's going on, but that's not a bad thing. We got so many retro companies going around. What if a couple of these decided to join forces, merge their companies, become partners, be stronger as a whole, have more help, have more things? That might be something we might see some consolidation in the future. I think that I'd strongly recommend that to some of these guys. And if there's any gals out there, I'll recommend it to them as well. Who knows what's going on, but I'm not sure how the mutations went and how that got together, but we are going to see some of those. Looks like the Bulldog and Jake ones will probably be the first 2 for that, for those keeping track at home. But that is it from Mattel this week. Not a whole lot of news. I did get a special delivery. Hopefully you saw the reviews by now. Got the San Diego Comic-Con Shawn Michaels Ultimate, and then the Ted DiBiase Ricky the Dragon and the Steamboat Ultimate. Check out those on the channel if you did miss those. And the channel is really overloaded right now. I've had to take a step back from my beloved Jakks Classic Superstars videos every single Tuesday because there's so much new stuff coming out right now. And I want to be able to get a lot of this stuff reviewed because we're going to do our best of top 10 list, top 5 list, pretty much all November, December, maybe even into January a little bit. So I got to get through some of this stuff to know if it deserves a spot on some of these lists. So it's a very, very busy time on the channel in general right now. So trying to get through all these reviews, but I know a lot of people, hey, where's that John Cena Greatest Hits Series 6? I just got that in my YouTube comments. Well, it's been on my Patreon for about 4 days. Actually, going back, I have the old Greatest Hits, Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton, Solo Sikoa Top Picks, Rock Ultimate Edition. There's so many things that have been up there for months that I haven't put to traditional YouTube. You get all the Classic Superstars, about another 1.5 years worth of Classic Superstars over there on Patreon. Patreon's got really everything. It's your one-stop shop for both channels. It's a cheap plug right here, but so much going on the channel, I can't get to all these videos. I'm doing 4 videos a day. I just don't want to put 10 videos out there. I just don't think that would be very good for anybody, I don't think. So there it is, a little off my soapbox here, getting back to it. But now we got to turn our attention, like a young Rob Halford would always say.
Message from Rob Halford of Judas Priest.
Step on the red, cross on the green, never take a ride in a stranger's machine, and always make sure you're burning on turbo power.
And Rob, as usual, burning on turbo power, and that's exactly what we're doing with a little bit of recap for New York Comic Con last week. Did a little bit of it in the toy news, but of course Saturday, Sunday was more news. didn't have it, so we're going to cover it right now. We're going to cover my beloved G.I. Joe brand. G.I. Joe, Hasbro in general, a lot of negativity around them with some job layoffs here. I hate it too, but you got to put that business hat on. Nobody likes layoffs. Nobody likes to get laid off. I totally understand that stuff, but man, big business is going to do what big business does. That's the way it goes. It sucks, especially around the holidays. I tell you what, I work for a huge corporation. I have a senior leader of a huge organization, and I hate to say it, and I hate to think about it, but one day my number is going to be called, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's not in the next 10 years or so. And they say one day, let's just use me example, Kyle, we appreciate everything you did for us. You've been here 25 years at that point, but guess what happens when people have been there for 25 years? You make a lot more money than maybe other people starting out. You got a lot of PTO, you're getting older, your health care is more expensive. The cost to have you an employee is older. And I'm not saying myself in general would pick on me. Maybe I'm stuck in my ways. Maybe I don't want to adapt to new things. I'll get somebody younger, pay them half the cost, don't have all the PTO. They're more open. They have new knowledge from straight out of college, whatever it may be. That's the way the business world works. I've seen it since I was a little kid. I've been part of 6 different of these layoff round kind of things, restructuring of companies. They happen in all these major companies, and somebody's got to get their ticket called. It absolutely sucks. I've had times where I've been in an office environment where me and another guy that I'm good buddies with, we were the last 2 standing. 10 of our friends we talked to, sat with every single day. Absolutely a job eliminated. See you later. We'll miss you, but you're done. Talk about survivor's guilt. That's one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot in business. Hasbro, I'm sure, is doing it right now. Why did they take Joe, but not me? That's a real thing. I've sat there and said, why? What made me special? Why did I get caught? Why did I get to stay here? What's going on? And every time somebody along the way, if you're in a big business, one of these major companies with stockholders, things like that holding you back, number's going to get called. It's big business. It is unfortunate. It never feels good. It sucks. But man, it's going to happen. It's going to continue to happen as long as we're alive, and then well after that. It is what it is. It just absolutely sucks. Some of the timing on these things, of course. But Hasbro, as we've seen, in a lot of trouble over the last couple of years. So hopefully they can steer the ship the right way, get back on track. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens right there. But we did see G.I. Joe stuff. Getting back on happier news here. G.I. Joe stuff. We did see the Mass Device Snake Eyes with Polar Bear. Sign me up. Hairy creature. Not quite bipedal. Sometimes. We did see Snake Eyes and, of course, the Polar Bear. Mass Device. We're going to get more figures around the Mass Device, it does seem, in 2025. Very, very cool looking thing. This Polar Bear, I can see a lot of collectors that maybe don't buy G.I. Joe buying it just for the Polar Bear. Makes a lot of sense for me. I can see that happen. We also saw Pedro Pascal, the Mandalorian himself, coming to the G.I. Joe line. I didn't know he got the role of a lifetime as one Footloose, but here we are, everybody Footloose, everybody cut loose as well. We got that coming. We also saw continuing on like the 60th anniversary thing with the G.I. Joe Firefighter. Not bad. I guess he could be a second to barbecue if you want to do that kind of thing. But it looks like they're diving into that. Have to imagine we'll see maybe a police officer, a military police officer, Coast Guard. We'll probably see a lot of this kind of stuff in the future. Maybe a medic. I could see that one as well. So they're carrying on that, of course. Got to get the most out of your molds. Using a lot of reuse. Great for custom fodder as well, as we do know. But we did see that one coming. We also saw a Cobra Outpost with Alley Viper. I have mixed emotions on this one here. It's cool for what it is. There's a lot of people wanting to build that kind of stuff. But for me and my collecting, I don't know if this is something I need. I am going to buy it because I'm all in on the Joe line. I want to support the brand. I enjoy the brand. I wish I just had room to set up a huge display of kind of a world, kind of like I'm doing with the He-Man stuff. I wish I had room for that. I do not. But it would be very fun to have a couple of these outposts out there, start building things out. You got your Dragonfly, your Hiss, your Vamp, your Stingers, building out a whole kind of universe. For those that have room for that, man, shout out to you. Very cool. It'll be interesting to see the price point on this one in the future as well. But it looks cool. You get a little reuse with the Alley Viper, as you can imagine there. We also saw the latest and greatest retro lathe, Dr. Mindbender, back out there for the masses. Dumbed down version, of course, from the old San Diego Comic-Con Hasbro Pulse exclusive, whatever it was. We saw a Cobra Viper, a very cool one, like the brighter, vibrant colors on this one, of course. And then we got a retro rock and roll, and he's throwing up the horns out there. We know how rock and roll does it. We got those, the latest and greatest retro figures. Check out the other retro unboxings recently released here on this very YouTube channel as well. So that was pretty cool to see that from G.I. Joe brand over there. And it sounds like there might be some delays next year in our Joe stuff, so we might get a little bit of a wallet reprieve for a little bit. we'll see what ends up happening. But that was a little G.I. Joe. Good friends over at Super 7 this week announced another deluxe figure. We've seen this with, of course, Monkey in. We've seen Conan the Barbarian. We saw Lion-O from the Thundercats. Now, my boy, King Diamond. I'm going to see King Diamond in a couple of weeks here. I got a very busy concert week on like the 11th of November. I'm going to Night Demon, my boys, Overkill and King Diamond. Going to Exodus a couple of days later with Havoc. And then a couple of days after that, Ace Frehley is in town. I'm going to go see Ace as well. So I'm going to have quite the concert calendar here in the next couple of weeks. Quite the concert calendar this week as well. But King Diamond getting the deluxe treatment from Super 7, which I thought was very interesting to see. I don't know if this is going to go to retail. Are we going to see this at Target? I'm here for that, seeing the King at Target. But it'll be interesting to see, get these compared to each other to see what the differences are between these two. But I think Super 7 about a year ago, what is time once again, they had some kind of investor go into them. I have a feeling this is all part of that. Hey, we got all these molds, got all these characters. We need to re-release some of these, get some more money back. I could see that being an influx, and it'll be interesting to see, are they going to dive into the G.I. Joe, the Ninja Turtles? How many things are going to get these deluxe treatments? I could see them doing 4 Ninja Turtles. That makes a lot of sense to me. We'll see what happens. Stay tuned to that, I guess, on the channel. We also saw from NECA this week. I think we saw it at San Diego Comic-Con, but they also showed it at New York Comic-Con. It is the ultimate Pee Wee Herman. If you were a kid of the 80s, you loved Pee Wee's Playhouse, myself included. I'll have to have this in my collection somewhere. Sounds like that'll be out sooner rather than later, so check out that one, of course. And not done with NECA. They're back at it with Walmart. No stranger there. We got the movie stuff, and we got basically a re-release of Shredder Leo in a 2-pack. Shredder, maybe some very small differences my eye couldn't catch. Leo looked like a different head, a little bit more battle damaged. I think I'm going to have to pass on that one unless it goes to like clearance or something, which you never know with NECA. There's just not enough meat on the bone there for me. I got the other ones, I'm perfectly good there. Now, one I'm torn on, and a lot of others are probably torn on, is the Casey Jones. Everybody wants more Casey Jones. They want to ride that train high on cocaine. We know how Casey Jones fans do. But this one comes with a dirt bike. Oh my gosh, that bike might be enough to put me over the edge. Those 2 sets coming to Walmart. Be on the lookout for them, of course. But as you guys also know, as Jerry Reed always says, we've got a long way to go and a short time. We've got a short time to finish up this video here. Got a lot of things to do. You know, it's a busy week for me this week. We don't talk a lot of Transformers, but I'm a Transformers guy, of course. A kid of the 80s loved him some Transformers. Just the ebbs and flows, once again, of the toy lines. They haven't stuck to a scale I've liked to get all the characters I liked ever. It's always, okay, I'm close, I'm feeling good. Okay, we got a new wave with a different size Optimus Prime or whatever. It just infuriates me. And so much so, I sold a lot of Transformers recently over on the Patreon group, of course, where I sell all that stuff first. But they did announce Devastator coming back. And Devastator, one of my favorite combiners of all time, if not my favorite combiner of all time, let's be serious. And I had a feeling this was coming, so I sold my old one about 2 months ago. Got a hefty price out of that one. That is great because now they have a new one, and I'll probably end up picking up this Devastator, but wanted to make mention of that, of course. So we'll see what happens in the future with my Transformers collection. Like I said, the ebbs and flows of that one there. But speaking of big robots, oh my gosh, New York Comic-Con once again. Sentinel, X-Men 97. Now, some people a little bit like, wait a minute, that was the HasLab. Well, it's a totally different Sentinel. This one is smaller than the last one. Not as many accessories, obviously. Cheaper price point. There's enough differences here that I feel it makes sense. I absolutely love Sentinels. Going all the way back to the Toy Biz days. Absolutely love them. This is a no-brainer for me. A very, very fun-looking set right here with this Sentinel, with the battle damage stuff, all the usual bells and whistles. I am going to pick up 2 of these is where my mind is right now. One thing that I think has been lost in a little bit of translation for some people, you can order this right now. You got till, I think, the end of November to order it. But guess what? We don't have to pay for it till it ships. I love that. They got the order. They know what people want, but they're not taking our money. They're not sitting on an interest-free loan for a year plus. That is pretty fun in this day and age, and we're seeing more of that kind of stuff, which I do appreciate. And I know some people, I've heard it, and people have messaged me, I like it when they take the money out right away because then I don't have any surprises down the road. But man, you shouldn't ever want anybody having a free interest loan on you. I get why the companies have to do it. But man, you could just put that money to the side, put it somewhere in a special, do something with it. Yeah, you'll get $5 interest. Maybe that's what it'll be. Whatever it is, still, it's the principle of the thing. Make your money work for you, not for them. That's what I'm going to say, but it is what it is. But those Sentinels looking very cool. When I close my eyes deep at night, as I do many a time, I wish my wife was here. She could attest to it. She'd say, honey, what are you doing? What are you dreaming about? And I'll say, oh, Angie. Those Sentinels. Oh, they got me again. They got me under their control once again, those Sentinels. But I'm picking up 2 of these at least. Who knows? Might get a 3rd one at the end. We'll see what ends up happening there. But now we got to turn our attention to an old friend, old Todd McFarlane. And dare I say, I see somebody over there on the couch, and he is back from his New York trip. And Todd McFarlane has joined us back on the couch once again. Mark Summers, MIA. We saw him at the Mall of America this week. You'll see that in the toy hunt video here in the next couple of weeks or so. But Todd, salt of the earth, Todd McFarlane, good to have you back here on the couch. I saw all your stuff. We're going to cover some of this Comic-Con stuff I was interested in, but it's great to see you back here. I'm glad you finally picked up your socks, your underwear, your pants. Very nice of you to clean up from there, but we did miss you. I hated how you stormed out in the middle of the video about the whole medieval Spawn controversy. If you guys didn't see that, I accidentally forgot to order that. I said it was a whole fiasco. I'm still kicking myself about that, but Todd was so furious he walked out, and apparently you said you walked all the way to New York Comic-Con. That's half the country. That's a walk, especially with no pants, no underwear, no shoes, no socks. That had to have been a treacherous trip out there. I'm sure you had people honking as you were driving by. Just a wild time for old Todd McFarlane. But Todd, good to have you back on the couch here. Let's talk about a few of these things that came through. I'm glad we could put our egos aside and just kind of do what's best for business is what it is right here. But I don't know what this is, and Todd's not talking yet. But I am very intrigued by this, like, monster 2-pack DC McFarlane. So it looks like your standard DC McFarlane figure, 7-inch scale. And we got Batman King Kong 2-pack. You know me, I love hairy bipedal creatures. I love King Kong. I am going to pick this one up. But how big is this Kong figure? It looks like here's Batman, here's Kong. How does that 2-pack work? How is the price point? People like me want to know. I want to know the answers on this one here, but man, consider me intrigued. Are we going to get other monsters? Are we going to get Frankenstein? What are we going to get? I'm very intrigued by this line. I can't wait to see where this one ends up going. We'll see what happens. But then Todd's showing off a lot of stuff. A lot of digital renders showing off here. But one thing about Todd from the couch, Todd, I'm not just inflating your ego here because you're back on. I'm going to call it like I sees it. And I'm calling it like I sees it right here. Saw a lot of stuff, and I do like and I do appreciate that Todd shows digital renders. It's not too far after that we actually get the figures. Where some companies, it's about a year and a half later from digital renders. It's like 3 to 6 months tops from render to prototype to in your stores is what it feels like to me. I don't know. You could chime in how you want. But we did see Orion, Wildcat, Aqualad, and Superman upcoming figures there. We also saw a fan vote. Turn it over to the fans. Very, very forward-thinking of you, Todd McFarlane on the couch. Jade, Green Lantern, Bizarro, Guardian, or the Eradicator. Oh, I think I'm voting Eradicator all day long on that one, so we got that. We did see the first Joker movie with the Murray Franklin show. I want to say we saw this at San Diego Comic-Con as well. But man, I love the idea of this, like a talk show set. I don't know if I'll even use that for the Joker and stuff. I might just make my own talk show set. We might do that over there. I don't know, but I'm very excited about that one. Robert De Niro figure as well. Looking very cool. And I never saw Joker 2, and I don't think I plan to after all the reviews I've seen. Saw the first Joker. I don't know. It didn't change my life. A lot of people loved it. I get it. You like what you like. You don't what you don't, of course. But it wasn't next level for me, and I don't think I'll see Joker 2. But I will pick up this play set. There's no doubt there. And then Todd playing all those hits. I don't know if some people saw that. This one goes out to my old buddy KP. I left the couch. He actually, I think, said that from the Comic-Con, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, Todd said he said it right before. I got to cut out of my own panel. I got to go to the Venom panel. So, yeah, you bailed on it. That was a power move. He put his collar up when he said that, too, if I'm not mistaken, old Todd McFarlane. And he showed his toes wiggling as well at the same time. But we got a 12-inch Swamp Thing, which was really cool. You dedicated that to me. I love Swamp Thing. You guys know that. Going back to a kid, absolutely love me some Swamp Thing. A red Swamp Thing as well to boot. And it sounds like it could be here this year, so sign me up all day long, twice on Sunday. We know how that goes as well. We did see a new pre-order, and this one is coming out, I guess, pre-order next, or today. I think it's pre-ordering today, Friday, Saturday, you're watching this, hopefully. Build-A-Figure Darkseid. You got Batman, Flash, Superman, Aquaman. Some heavy hitters, a new Build-A-Figure wave. Build-A-Figures few and far between McFarlane and Hasbro Marvel Legends this year, so kind of cool to see another Build-A-Figure Dark Side, we've that McFarlane one, highest to highs, lowest to lows. That should be the definition of this video here. As I love that figure, I love the looks of it, but the quality control on that one could be better. Could be better, Todd. Maybe we'll have that in the worst of list. We'll see what ends up happening there. We also saw some more reveals coming out. Captain Cold, an old school Super Friends favorite. Power Girl, but the one that got me going, the one that's the talk of all the playground, I'm sure, out there. Definitely when I was a kid. Green Lantern, Guy Gardner. Oh, we're finally getting it. I've been screaming, where's Guy Gardner for the last year and a half? Here it comes. Guy Gardner coming in. One of the most controversial lanterns. Easily the most controversial lantern. But one of the most controversial superheroes ever on the playground when I was a kid. There was very few that liked the Guy Gardner. There was very many that didn't like his haircut, as we know. But man, can't wait to get this one in the collection as well. We also saw Thomas Wayne Zoom. Oh, Zoom, as one would say in a commercial back in the 90s probably. A 2-pack DC McFarlane, so that'll be an interesting one as well. So Todd playing all the hits over there. He talked about other properties, other stuff I don't buy, and we're not really going to cover there. But Todd always coming with the hot news, always coming back to the couch. See if you can get Mark Summers, but he's working the Double Dare stand at the Mall of America, so he's been very, very busy. And the one-man show, which you did see. Oh, great. Todd saw the one-man show over there while he was in New York City. Was it good? You got slimed? Oh, my gosh. You don't slime Todd McFarlane. Did you have your pants on at least? Oh, you did. Okay, well, that's good. He had his pants on for that one. That would have been a green slip and slide nobody wants a part of course, as we do know. But there it is. That's the toy news this week. A heck of a lot going on this week in the toy news. But we're not done. We got a very special album of the week. All right, time for album of the week, and this one is very fitting and ties kind of the week all together. I mentioned earlier, Tuesday, I was up in Minnesota, had a big presentation for work, wowed them, also had to take some tomato thrown at me from the stage. That was a little rough. I had to kind of go back and forth. It was a good time, though, all in fun. Oh, it always is, right? But sometimes it's tough when you have to work a tough room, and you get some of those opinions back at you, and you got to answer for them. So it's always a fun time in person, but I always give people kudos for having the stones to go after a presenter. So it's always fun to see that. But while I was up there in Minnesota, I did get to see the Iron Maiden show. Got to give a special shout out to a good friend of the channel, of course, Jeff George, who toured with Iron Maiden once upon a time over there in Europe with We Are Harlot. Got us on the guest list. So Jeff saving us some money as well along the way there. Chris Jericho was also there, pictured with Rod Smallwood, of course, his manager. And Jericho was living that life. He was living that Maiden life. He was doing some of this. He was pounding the drinks. And I was listening to his podcast the other day. He's got like Z-Biotics or something that helps you recover. He must have been slamming those Z-Biotics because, man, he was in pretty rough shape that night, just watching him. I mean, he was gone, let me tell you. But what did he do the next night? He went from Minnesota to Salt Lake City and had a Ladder Wars match where he won the Ring of Honor World title. So say what you want about Jericho, man. Party hard and then party even harder winning the Ring of Honor title the next night. So kudos to Jericho at the old Maiden show. But it was quite the show, of course, as you can imagine. Maiden always puts on a heck of a performance. Just great stuff all around. Just a fun atmosphere. And, man, at the top of their game still, it's amazing how old they are. Bruce hasn't lost anything in his voice. Just absolutely amazing stuff. Just really, really good. Only negative, really, and you really can't have any negatives with Maiden because even the worst Maiden show, better than a lot of shows. You get the animatronic Eddie robots, you get fire and you get pyro, you get all kinds of stuff, backgrounds, you name it, it's there. Only thing I'd say, and that's usually a usual negative for Iron Maiden the last few years, is they do not play all the hits, and you can't play all the hits if you're a Maiden fan, of course. But they did put a few songs of the newer songs, which I get it. You want to push your new album. I think they went maybe a couple of songs too heavy on that, and you could see they lost the audience in a couple of, like the Celt song, not my favorite from Senjutsu, of course, but they lost a lot of the audience. Saw a lot of people going to get a beer, bathroom break stuff. It just felt like the energy kind of dropped on that one. And if you're Maiden, you kind of feel like, this just isn't working. Let's keep it up, because that was a big drop off in the energy of the show. But besides that, it was absolutely amazing. There was maybe not as big of backgrounds as years past. Kind of is what it is, but it's not about the backgrounds. It's not about the stage antics. It's about the music, and it was absolutely amazing. And that gets us the album of the week this week. And it is fitting because this week we did lose Paul Di'Anno, the original singer for Iron Maiden, of course, on the Killers album and the Iron Maiden album, the first two Iron Maiden albums, which some people still say are their favorite Iron Maiden albums, and you know what? I'm not far off of that. I love a lot of Iron Maiden. I love all Iron Maiden in all honesty, but those first two albums, some of the most classic Iron Maiden songs to this day. They played Iron Maiden. Of course, that was off of the first album. Some amazing, amazing stuff. Different vocal style with Paul Di'Anno, almost more Motorhead-like, almost more punk rock-like. You know I love that. I love Bruce. I loved Paul with Iron Maiden, and Paul Di'Anno passed away this week, which was really sad, obviously, but he had a lot of health issues for a lot of years. Hadn't been with Maiden for many, many years, decades really at this point, but always sad when a singer like that does die in an influential part of a band like Iron Maiden. And I felt a little fortunate we were at that show on Tuesday because he died the day before. Iron Maiden did take us time out of their set to talk about Paul, what he'd done for the band, do a moment of silence. And fittingly enough, the show was in St. Paul, Minnesota, so it was kind of like stars aligning. It was a weird kind of thing. But very much a tribute to Paul Di'Anno that night. And tribute here in Album of the Week, those first two classic Maiden albums, must listen if you're into hard rock, heavy metal, even punk rock. Two amazing albums. Paul Di'Anno getting it done back in the day, and unfortunately passing away this week. So Album of the Week, we're going to go Iron Maiden, and we're going to, of course, go Killers, the two first Iron Maiden albums. So there it is, Album of the Week. What is your Album of the Week? Let me know in the comments down below. And, of course, you made it this far. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the old notification bell. Let me know what's going on this week. What were you excited about for toy news? Anything I missed that we should talk about, circle back to next week. Let me know as well. Check out the Patreon, as I mentioned earlier in the channel. All kinds of stuff going on in there every single day between both YouTube channels, funneling up to the old Patreon. Appreciate the support on the channel over there. Of course, as well, don't forget my book, The Complete Guide to the Jakks Classic Superstars series, now available on Kindle, ProWrestlingTees.com. Search Kyle Peterson. Almost forgot, how did I forget this at the beginning of the show? We got the Patreon giveaway for the month of October. We got the Mummy, we got Frankenstein. Head over to the Patreon. You could win these. As a Patreon member, will win those. So check out the Patreon giveaway as well. And don't forget to hit me up, follow along on social media. SirPaul64 on the X, the _Kyle_Peterson on Threads, and on Instagram. So for another week of toy news, you know what I'm doing? I'm rocking and rolling, strutting and strolling my way to a toy show, AEW Collision, and another toy show.